Blog Talk Radio.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. If it's Tuesday, it is Cleveland, Ohio, to the forefront here. It's American Sports History Podcast, hosted by Peter Ray. And I'll tell you, yours truly, Mark Mancini, producing it out here in Los Angeles, 347-205-9631. I know a lot of you guys try to get on. We get loaded up. 30 minutes goes by quick. You can catch the archive version, blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports. Podcast platforms now driven and powered by Mancini Media. A few weeks we'll be locking up StreamYard and Zoom to the equation, so we're blessed. Without further ado, it's more of him, less of me. Let me lay the red carpet down, put the podium in its place, hand off the mic. Peter, first of all, how are you? Second of all, how can people get a hold of you? Third of all, it looks like you brought my hometown into the equation tonight.
Hi, Mark. I'm doing well. I have a YouTube channel that's my name, Peter J. Ray, R-E-A. I have a website, Adventures in History with Peter J. Ray, and you're absolutely right about our tremendous guest tonight. He's from Columbus, Ohio, lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. He's a believer, father, grandfather, nutritionist, Air Force veteran, gambler, Steelers fan, and podcaster. Welcome to the show, Mr. Robert Conley.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, Peter, and Mark. Glad that you had me on here. I would like to just give give a shout out to all the Steelers fans out there and anybody that likes to play baccarat or gamble. I can give you some information on that if you'd like at some point. And as Steelers, I do a podcast myself, Robert and Sonia Live, which is a Steelers podcast that's on Facebook. We use StreamYard on Facebook on Sunday nights. And then we also do an NFL podcast on Sunday mornings, late or early afternoon, when there are early games that would be on. As you noted, I wear many hats, and I stay really busy. So almost any time, almost any week, you can catch me doing some type of a podcast, whether it is Steelers or about baccarat and gambling, or even lately I do nutrition and keep people up to snuff on cryptocurrencies and stuff like that sometimes. So I stay pretty busy.
What is a nutritionist?
A nutritionist. I get my nutritional supplements formulated especially for me. The company formulates them. They have nearly 400 million different formulas, and one of them is right for you. And I get that from a company called Euphoria. As I said, they are formulated just for me. I swabbed the inside of my cheeks, sent it into the lab. The lab pulled my DNA off of it and then matched my DNA to a barcode, and then they feed that barcode into what's called a nutritionator, and that nutritionator has about 100 different vitamins, minerals, and herbs in it, and it formulates it down to the microgram just for my DNA.
And then they send you some product that's appropriate?
Yes, it comes to me in capsules. I can choose either capsules or powder. I get it in capsules because I move around so much, Columbus, down in Texas, out in Vegas, and to Indiana, different places. So I got capsules to make it easy for me to get my nutrition on a daily basis. And let me tell you that it works so well. I've got a high school basketball knee injury, and I had been taking alfalfa for it because alfalfa reduces the inflammation. Well, if I didn't take the alfalfa for 3 days, I would start limping because of the joint. When I moved to Vegas, someone broke into my car the second day I was there, took my personal bag with all my dirty clothes and my nutrition in it, and they took my alfalfa. Well, I didn't really notice that I wasn't taking the alfalfa because the nutrition took care of the problem with my knee that I was had a Band-Aid on forever with the alfalfa. So the nutrition goes into your system, and it's matched up to your DNA. And what it does is levels out your DNA. If you are putting too much of something in your system, then you're toxifying your system. But the nutrition brings down something that you got too much of and brings up what you don't have enough of. So you never know how good you can feel until you get the proper nutrition into your system. And that's what I'm doing now.
And you noticed a change when you started doing this?
I noticed a major change. Like I said, my knee for one, and also my stamina, and I sleep easy. Usually when you take vitamins, if you take them too late in the day, then you've got too much in your system. It's hard for you to sleep. But these nutritional supplements are meant for you to take twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, but it doesn't keep you from sleeping. Let me give you this little story. Yes, it helps me a lot, but in Vegas, we have a group of people that are taking this product, and each of them takes it for themselves. A lady and her husband ordered the products, and they were thinking, oh, well, according to our DNA, we get this report, and then we get our nutrition, and let's compare what's in these capsules for us. And they were going down the list, and they were looking. They had some of the very same items in their capsules as the other person. But then they noticed, well, yours has more than mine does, down to the microgram. So they were getting what they needed for their systems, even though they were in the same household. They got totally different nutritional systems, and it allows you to empty out your cabinet of all of the other items that you have in there, because it's what your body needs, not what you think your body needs. Think about this for just a second. If you are buying a vitamin off the shelf and the USRDA says this is what you need for your body, and you're 6'5", 350 pounds, how could you need the same things that this guy, me, 5'6", 170 pounds, needs? There's no way we can need the same thing. No way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, since we're all different, and then so how can you, yes, this what you mentioned, individualizing people's health needs. That's wonderful, wonderful. Now, you served in the Air Force. Where was that?
I was in the Air Force Reserves. I joined over in Indianapolis. I went to Auto and Diesel Mechanic School over there, and I joined in Indianapolis, went through basic training down in San Antonio, and then my home unit was here at Rickenbacker Air Force Base in Lockbourne, Ohio, right south of Columbus. Being in the Air Force Reserves, we went someplace nearly every year for a 2-week tour. Like I went to Germany about 4 times, Alaska about 4 times, and down to San Antonio, down to Texas, over into Missouri. And I was activated during Desert Shield. And what I did is I went over to Scott Air Force Base in Illinois, and I filled in for a guy that went to Iraq. My job then, what I was trained for, was heavy equipment operation, and I was also an instructor for heavy equipment, bulldozers, tractor trailers, backhoes, cranes, anything basically that the Air Force had equipment-wise. I was trained and could train someone else on it. Well, my job in Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, was head of the SWAT team. I wasn't carrying a weapon or anything like that. What I did is I went in and did repairs on housing that was temporary housing for all of the medical people in the Air Force that was going over to Iraq. They would come in the Scott Air Force Base, and they would stay in these units, townhouse units, that had prior been condemned. Well, my job, I had a few people working for me. My job was to go over, estimate, figure out what needed to be done to make the place livable and comfortable while they were there temporarily, send my people over there, get it fixed, and then move on to the next one. So that's what my job was. the best compliment probably that I had ever gotten was from a major in the Air Force that was there. He called in, had a work order. I went over, checked everything out, sent my guys over to fix it, and he came back to me. He said, Sergeant Conley, as Master Sergeant, he said, Sergeant Conley, he said, in my 22 years of being in the Air Force, I have never had anybody serve me the way that you did. You gave me notice when you were coming over. You got there on time. You gave me an adequate estimate of what needed to be done. You sent your guys over. They took care of it. You came back and checked everything out, and everything was great. He said, I've never been serviced like that in the Air Force. So,
well, that's wonderful. Tremendous. Good job. Now, growing up in Columbus, Ohio, how many are the you became a Pittsburgh Steelers fan? I'm now not without looking at the map here. Are there many Steelers fans in Columbus?
You know what? I see more Pittsburgh Steelers license plates, window decals, jerseys, hats. I see more than I see of Cincinnati Bengals or Cleveland Browns in Columbus.
So I'm here. We're in Cleveland here, and it's funny. We were talking earlier on the telephone, and the Steelers, they go way back to the 1930s. And what's interesting is Art Rooney, and it's still in the same family. I don't know if the Giants are still owned.
Family. It's
still in the Rooney family. Amazing. I don't know if any other team can say that. Anyway, so that's. And it's funny because Art Rooney, the original owner, the Steelers were really they were not a good team. They were pretty, I think, mostly losing seasons in the 30s, going back to the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and then
right.
So you and then I guess apparently Art Rooney really didn't care. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. But then all of a sudden, here you got involved. You mentioned you started following the 1970. I'm extreme. For me, the 70s Steelers are probably the coolest team for me. Because oh my gosh, and they were with Cleveland in the old Central Division. Wow, what? So can you talk about the 70s Steelers? And here you got involved in them at the perfect time because oh boy. Can you talk about the 70s Steelers?
Are you talking about the Steel Curtain? You talk about Jack Lambert and Jack Ham, and then you talk about Terry Bradshaw and Terry Hanratty, and Mel Blount and all these guys. You talk about those guys, and like right now I've got the chills because thinking about these guys and thinking about how they played the game then and where they got their motivation from to win 4 Super Bowls during the 70s, it was a time when football was football. Now, you're from Cleveland, but you're saying that you admired that 70s football team of the Steelers, and you being from Cleveland, you guys won a number of championships before they merged the old AFL and NFL together to make it the NFL today. And you guys had so many championships. And there was competition back then that was made to look like it wasn't any competition at all when the Pittsburgh Steelers got on the field. And when their origination is 1933. And like you said, they were not winning up until the 70s. Before then, in World War II, they merged with the Philadelphia Eagles to become the Steagles because too many players and too many people were not here to play, and so they did not have full teams, so they merged then. And moving on up into the 70s and them playing then, it's Terry Bradshaw was not a fast guy. And Terry Bradshaw was not the guy that would thread the needle all the time. But he was the guy that would put the ball in the vicinity of the receiver, and the receivers would make adjustments to the ball and catch like Len Swan going up and snagging the ball over top of another player in the end zone for a touchdown. John Stallworth going out and reaching around a player to catch the ball and landing on his back so that the ball doesn't fall to the ground when he hits the ground at full speed. I mean, just thinking about these guys, the way they played the game then is similar to the way the game is played now with these players. However, the penalty flags were not flying so much back then as they do now. And so allowing these guys to play like those guys played back then, and I mean, Jack Ham. Somebody, I think it was Oakland Raiders, I can't remember exactly, I think it was Oakland Raiders, went and pat Terry Bradshaw on the helmet saying good job, or either he was saying something else. I don't know. And Jack Ham goes over and slams the guy to the ground. Leave my quarterback alone. Okay? No flag thrown on the play, but that was the atmosphere. That was the demeanor that these guys had. They were the tough guys, and they were going to make sure everybody knew it when they came on the field. And when they went off the field, somebody was probably going to be limping.
Yeah, I was thinking about the Immaculate Reception and what that famous play where, and I was watching the game. I was 12 or something like that, and then first and 10, second 10. I believe it was 4th and 10, and it's like the Steelers are going to lose this game, and Bradshaw puts it up, and I believe his target was, everybody knows, okay, it got knocked down, and Franco Harris gets it before it hits and takes it in, and the Steelers win. And I think, I believe it was intended for Frenchie Fuqua, and I was thought about how he had these high-heeled shoes that were glass and had goldfish in the heels that he would go out. You remember that? I thought, boy, those goldfish must have had a tough time surviving a night on the town in Frenchie Fuqua's heels.
Speaking of, you got that exactly right, that it was intended for Frenchie Fuqua, and I think it was Jack Tatum that hit him at the time that the ball arrived, and doing that, it bounced back, and Franco Harris was running downfield to be a blocker, and the ball came straight towards him, and he wound up, picking it out of the air when it was just about to touch the ground, and he went on and ran it in for the touchdown, putting the Steelers in their first playoff game in the NFL. Now, I was over in Pittsburgh a few weeks ago, and I saw a news reporter giving an interview to a store owner that sells Pittsburgh Steelers gear. And I had my baseball hat on, and not baseball-style NFL hat on. And this hat has all 6 Super Bowls on the bill, and it says 6-time Super Bowl champions on the hat, and then it's got it on the side also. And I walked in and I was looking, I was watching, and then I started doing it. I was doing a podcast at the time showing the Steelers fans what goes on over there on the Strip. And the owner of the store saw me wearing that hat. He said, that's my favorite hat. And I made like 240 of them because that's the minimum that I needed to order to get them. He said the only reason why I made it was because Frenchie Fuqua called me and asked me, could I get this hat made up? And so I've got one, and you're talking about Frenchie Fuqua there in the Immaculate Reception, and that was what happened over there just a few weeks ago in Pittsburgh on the Strip.
I was thinking about Rocky Blyer, one of the greatest stories, because here's a guy who'd been in Vietnam and severely wounded, and they thought, he didn't know if he's going to walk again, and then here he comes back from that to get like 100-yard rushing gains, to be do very well for the Steelers, and I thought, Rocky Blyer, that was such a tremendous story, that guy on those teams.
Right. Rocky Blyer has he had the motivation to always be what was necessary at the time that he was involved in whatever he was involved in. Like most of the football players, you try to stay with the public unless you're a very shy type guy, but you stay out there in the public and you help and you do different things. And he stayed around, and he's still a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers family, like most of them are. It's pretty hard once you become a part of the family to not be a part of the family again. You feel like something's missing. It's just a major feeling that you have inside of you whenever you're in Pittsburgh. I mean, just going over and being there on game day, whether it is a preseason game or a regular season game, the atmosphere that you're around all of these Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it just feels so good. And Rocky Blyer, sometimes he's there in the trailer with the NBC, CBS, whoever those guys are that are there for that game. He's there with them, on camera with them prior to the game starting. And, I mean, it's just every player seems like they give whatever they can give to keep the family strong all the time. And that's what makes them such a good team now. I mean, even though they haven't won a Super Bowl in over 10 years, it's still the family atmosphere, and that's what keeps them a winning team every year. The latest coach, Mike Tomlin, he has not had a losing season since he's been there, and it's everybody working together as a family.
Yeah, and I think that's so important to you could tell that the Rooney family are good people with good values, and then because how can you keep? It's amazing how the Steelers have kept. I was just going through the records the last 50 years. Yeah, they've had a few losing years, but not a long stretch, not more than a couple losing years in a row. And so amazing how they've been, consistent. And to me, it's proof of the importance of good character, being a good person. And you can see it starts with the Rooney, like you said. They're not just you have a good family, the Rooney family, and then they have, like you said, this a family spirit with the team and former players, and just to be so I'm jealous of you because the Cleveland Browns, their greatness was in the 40s and 50s, way before I was born, and then last title was 64. So, I mean, just to be so that's tremendous that you're a part of that. What a wonderful experience to be a part of that. A tremendous history and tradition. Beautiful, amazing.
Yeah, it's all over. When the steel industry went down in Pittsburgh, then the workers had to fan out across the country to find employment. And so when they settled in wherever they are, they took Pittsburgh Steelers with them. And it's almost any city I go to, I will see Pittsburgh Steelers fans. I mean, I really don't remember going someplace, maybe down in Myrtle Beach, maybe down there, but I can't remember going other places and not seeing Pittsburgh Steelers fans. In Las Vegas, I was riding my bicycle one day, and this SUV goes by, and it said Lady Steeler on the license plate. I mean, they're just everywhere. It's all over the place. And there was an interview, and I can't remember this guy's name, but this guy was being interviewed, and Mr. Rooney was there. And the guy, he was from Dallas. I think he was a player from Dallas. He was being interviewed because he wanted to be on the Pittsburgh Steelers staff. And so as the interview was going on, he was talking, and he said, he was talking about America's team, and he said America's team, and then I think who's the commissioner before Goodell was the commissioner? I can't remember the guy's name.
Pete Rozelle? No.
Rozelle called Mr. Rooney, and he said, Art, he said, we would like to have your team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, taglined as America's team. He said, let me tell you something. He said, as long as I've been here, he said, we've been this team and we're this family. He said, we're not America's team. We are the Pittsburgh Steelers. and so then Roselle tagged the Dallas Cowboys America's team. That's where that came from.
Yeah, I remember, of course, Franco Harris, who is, appears to be African descent or is African descent and really mixed race and
black Italian.
And then one of the coolest things was his I think his father's Italian, his mother was black African American, and then they had Franco's Italian Army at the games. These Italian guys rooting for Franco Harris. That was cool. I really liked that.
Yeah.
So that was go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
And then the other interesting thing I was thinking about how Jim Brown, the game changes, and then Jim Brown was complaining that Harris would go out of bounds to avoid taking hits, and he's like, you got to stay in bounds. So the time passes, and so I remember Jim Brown criticizing Franco Harris for going on. Well, I mean, heck, you gotta
smart
preserve
running.
It's such a rough game, So I wouldn't blame him for it.
Yeah. Jim Brown, his number was 32, also, wasn't it? Do you remember?
I believe so. Okay.
I think so. Him and Franco Harris, number 32. Yeah, Franco Harris would preserve his body by running out of bounds. That was smart play back then. You don't have to power your way through on every play. Save yourself for the next play so you can go on and power your way through when you need to do that.
Go ahead.
I went to a school here called Franklin Heights, and their colors are black and gold, and their uniforms look just like the Pittsburgh Steelers, except for the emblem on their helmet. It was a falcon instead of the Steelers emblem. When I was playing football, my principal's name was Robert LeBeau, and his brother was Dick LeBeau, and I think he was playing for Green Bay at the time, and he called us a couple of times on Thursday nights to give us pep talks before we went and played on Friday. So it was really, really hard for me. And another thing was I was in the backfield. I was running back in the backfield, and Perry Belcastro, Italian, was in the backfield too. So we had a black Italian backfield as well. How could I not be a Steelers fan?
Right. I'm always happy. Terry Bradshaw, you see him around, and he's getting older. But I to me, he was just so strong, and
yes,
and he's a good guy. I've seen him over the years. He's a funny guy. He's a happy guy, and he's a good old boy. So Terry Bradshaw, I'm always happy to see him. You see him around games, so that's. He's the tremendous. What a tremendous player! And I was shocked when his career came to an end because I thought he'd play forever.
Yeah, well, he's still around. He does podcasting. He's got a business, and he stays active. Right now, he's active, even though he does the emceeing on the shows on TV. He still does his own podcasting and does things on the side to stay active all the time. So he's still out there doing something and doing it on a regular basis.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about who would be the greatest Steelers coach, and I'd have to go with Chuck Noll because he's the guy who turned it around. I mean, it's ever since him, it's so I vote for Chuck Noll and oh boy, all those guys, Lynn Swann and Mean Joe Green, and there was a famous was it a Coca-Cola commercial with Mean Joe Green? Right,
there's Coca-Cola with the little boy.
So and here in Cleveland they think, they say all this stuff against Pittsburgh, but I thought, come on, respect for the noble opponent. Boy, it was amazing. We beat Pittsburgh twice this year at the end of the season. It's like that was unheard of. Yeah. Hard to believe because Roethlisberger had just been killing us so many times. So we finally had some success against the Steelers.
Yeah, the Browns and the Bengals beat us this past season, which is rare for that to happen the way it did, but it did happen. And Steelers the Browns got their first playoff victory in how many years was that?
Oh, back to 94. Yeah, so it's 26 years.
Oh, yeah. So yeah.
When Bill Belichick was the Cleveland coach.
Oh, really?
Yep. This is young Bill Belichick. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I was actually over there in Pittsburgh for that playoff game with the Browns, and it was supposed to be family and friends, and who did I see? I saw some dog pound guys over there in Pittsburgh, and actually one of the guys that I talked to that was down in the parking lot, they showed him on camera on the game.
Our guest has been Robert Conley. We are out of time. Robert, do you have any fun? It's been wonderful having you on the show. Really amazing. I love reminiscing about the 70s Steelers. Do you have any final words for our listeners?
Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
And again, information about your Steelers podcast.
I'm on Facebook, and my name is, you go facebook.com/ROBERTCONLEY 7644, and you can catch me there.
Well, thanks again so much for coming on. I just can't say enough good. Even though they're the team, our big rival, but you have to have respect. What a tremendous tradition and a wonderful experience. And I'm jealous for you. So wonderful having you on the show.
The Steelers are glad that you guys are back.
Okay. Well, yeah, it wasn't like I heard my son was saying, well, it's not much of a rivalry because you guys are winning us, so you guys won. I think the Steelers would rather have a team that could put up more of a fight and be more of a challenge. So at least we did that this year.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Robert.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks so much. Dear listener, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Good night, everybody. Thanks again, Robert.